Hello, everybody, and welcome to EGFC Rocket League. It is a beautiful Wednesday evening. We are jumping into our first of three series. I think we've got four on the day today, but University of Cincinnati going up against Delaware. Tenrick, this is going to be a tough one to start things off. Delaware, one of the best teams we've got here at the EGFC, and Cincinnati, certainly not bad at any right.
Yeah, this might be the closest match we have all day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But also on a silver lining, this is going to be a really close match. Delaware, a bit newer to the league, but has already made so many crazy waves. But Cincinnati has been one of the most consistent teams I've ever seen in EGF history when it comes to Rocket League. They are just so good at mechanics, and their comms are always on lock. They only get beat by better teams, but they're looking like that today. That's already a goal within the first 11 seconds.
Yeah, Delaware saying frick real early on here as that first goal comes out in favor of Cincinnati. And as an Ohioan myself, there's part of me naturally rooting for Cincinnati. But Delaware, they're a great team. I've known them for a long time. It'd be awesome to see them come out and flourish all the same. However, Cincinnati clearly trying to not let that happen. Already puts 1 point up, and it's answered. Blink and you miss it. Kiddo smile. Puts a smile on Delaware's face and ties us back up 1-1.
I love the rushdown we're seeing right out the gate. These are two bombastic schools who know how good they are and also know that if they don't leave it all out on the pitch today, then they're absolutely not going to get that victory. So really just gunning it, foot to the floor. I love to see it within the first 15.
First 15 seconds, 2 goals already up and running, so it goes from a 1-0 to essentially a 0-0 in its own right, and it's going to be pretty difficult for either team to take a dominant lead moving into the rest of this. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, and I assume here in Game 1, Cincinnati wants to try and find a lead like they always do, but Delaware, not a team you can just sneak a goal past. They're going to answer every goal with one of their own, and already, Cincinnati ball control again, a great pass down towards center field, knocked away. Delaware has the lineup, no pitch, D-Hacks knocks it away and keeps us at a 1-1.
Yeah, finally some neutrality here, and yet so many interesting passes I'm seeing. A lot of airtime that these teams are both going for, opting to try and contest in the air, but Delaware has had more procedural damage throughout those interactions, and they're going to be able to turn it into a goal.
Turning it into a goal is a critical play here for Delaware. They go up by 1. Not even the first minute has passed. Not even 20% of the game has come and gone. And already we see Delaware with 2 points, Cincinnati with 1. That 1 point lead not nearly comfortable enough to put your head off that constant swivel. You need to put yourself into a game-winning scenario that requires 2, 3, maybe even 4 or 5 points before you could really start feeling comfortable with this 1 point. Not enough for Delaware to slow down for even a moment.
Taken from the edge is to try and drive it back out. If that was a fake, that was a really good one, because Stellar almost got that. But instead it's bounced back, and there's actually no coverage on it, so Scooter's going to have to rush back as well, hold down midfield, and now the double commit will actually overwhelm Cincinnati. Getting this attack going, has the midfield line up, but Engineer is a little too far out, understands that, still tries to go for it a bit late, and that kind of hesitation is going to get you thrown away from this game.
Yeah, that hesitation is going to get you removed from the matchup here, and unfortunately Cincinnati can't find the lineup where they needed it. Instead of looking for a secondary pitch, I'm waiting to see if they strike as early as we want them to, or if it's going to be a bit of a silent strike from Delaware to put that 3rd point on the board just like that. Scooter's lineup sends it into the far right side, and Cincinnati looks for an opportunity of their own and falls short. Delaware boxed out by the Engineer, and Cincinnati keeps us at 2-1. 3 minutes remaining. Cincinnati probably not starting to sweat yet.
Yeah, they're looking really solid. They're looking really held up. Cincinnati's still looking disciplined. They're not taking huge risks. They're not making really bad plays to try and throw themselves harder into the fire this game and just turn it into a shootout, because they could very easily do that.
Yeah.
Especially after we saw that trade of goals in the first 15 seconds. This could have easily become such a disrespectful game, but instead both these teams just continuing to play it out, and I really admire that, especially on Cincinnati's side after taking that unfortunate loss early on and still having to hold it down for so much of this game so far as we enter the halfway mark.
Yeah, every single goal seems to slip through just a little bit here against Cincinnati, and they've been able to keep it close as the defense from both sides has certainly proven to be the team that is going to shine. 2:15 left. We've entered the second half of Game 1, and it is going to be a back-and-forth bonanza as Cincinnati is desperate to try and find an opportunity to score. However, I'm just not sure the stars are going to align for them here in this game. A great attempt from the Engineer to play a defense, gets boxed out, and Delaware forcing it toward the back third of Cincinnati once again.
Stellar from the corner. Not a direct boom, but it's over to Scooter instead, who will continue queuing it up. Delaware's still been a bit faster to the ball more often than not, but they've also been missing a little more often, so Cincinnati has gotten some better touches, while Delaware has simply gotten more. If Delaware can just level up their mechs to match up with Cincinnati the rest of the game through, then this should be a done deal of a series, in my opinion. But Cincinnati just knows how to ramp it up again and again and again and take things to a whole different level. As we see Frick a little bit stuck here. Has a good tank, though. Stellar has to stop it early on, but Cincinnati has the setup to cycle through it. And we're back at midfield with the red on the attack.
Red on the attack. Cincinnati looking for a bit of a soft hit in off the corner. The defense from Delaware hurdles it down towards Cincinnati's goal. A phenomenal pass into center forces Kidder to play a bit of an awkward bump. Cincinnati has a lineup, passes it toward the goal of Delaware, and the defense just standing strong once again. It seems like they are continuously a step ahead of their opponent here from Delaware. Cincinnati's first goal came in the first, I think, 11 seconds of the game. We haven't seen one since. Can they break that curse, or is Delaware going to win by just that 1 point?
They're starting to make a path away. Good start from Darth. Can that be finished? Engineer can't. Or D-Hacks, excuse me, not Darth. Frick from the corner attempting to continue the circulation. It's just a little bit slow at the moment. Engineer once again a little late to the party. D-Hacks taking it from the center, and that's a beautiful shot to put it away.
An absolute team effort there to make that one work, Tenrick, but work it certainly did. Cincinnati tying us up 2-2 with only 30 seconds left. The odds of an overtime have certainly increased, and you've got to wonder if Delaware can answer back fast enough. Can they give us a 2-goal like they did earlier this series, or is it instead going to be Cincinnati sneaking a win out from their opponents? The fake goes into a great hit off the crossbar, too far to the right side. The defense is in line, and Cincinnati does not get the freebie they were hoping for. With only 20 seconds left, the Engineer goes toward an open goal. Boxed out, Stellar goes for the catch, centers it. Goal falls open. Cincinnati plays a defense, and Delaware doesn't find their goal either, still at 2-2.
Back we go. Cincinnati's been having a lot more of the possession lately in this back half of the game. D-Hacks from the corner, a little bit of a whiff, unfortunately. An Engineer cannot get to it in time. We enter OT in game number 1. I expected it to be close, but
yeah,
trades like this, it just shows the personality of these schools so easily, and I'm so impressed. Frick gonna try and get it done all on their own. Engineer attempting to find the angle to help out, but it's not perfect. Unfortunately, that's just such a tough place to hold it from. Good boom back, not too much speed. Engineer's gonna commit to it, goes too high. D-Hacks goes low, though, and Engineer turns it into a bump. Cincinnati makes it work and takes game 1.
Cincinnati taking game number 1 in a 3-2 overtime fashion, not only a 30-second overtime. Glad it wasn't one too particularly long, because these players can burn themselves out pretty darn quick. Game 1 comes to a close in favor of Cincinnati. Only 2 games left, but as Delaware just showed us, this is not going to be an easy game for anybody. We're going to need all 6 players out there giving their 110% to try to walk away with a win.
I just realized it's Cincinnati in the scoreboard. That's awesome. Shout out Eon. I'm completely flacking them. But anyway, these teams, I think we neglected to mention, we said that they're close, but I do believe they have even records as well. I believe they are currently 13-2, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. No, not 13-2, 11-2. I think that is the record for both these.
That's still pretty good.
That's still pretty good. But yeah, I think that, yeah, because they were 10-2 coming into the previous week, I think. And then Cincinnati and Delaware both got their wins. So yeah, they should still be even. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they have completely even records. I don't know who's winning in round or goal differential right now because the scores haven't been completely updated on Rocket League standings. Evidently, it's unfortunate, but because of spring break, there's been a lot of dips, so completely understandable. There's been a lot of weird forfeits we've had to see in all games. But I'm really glad that so many of the schools were able to show up today. You know, only one of our matches, unfortunately, had to get closed down today.
It's not even one of
ours.
ours.
This mainstream, and it's not one that we're even getting to cover, which is so different from what's been the last 2 weeks. It's a big relief to actually get to work on the days that we're supposed to.
Yeah, it's a warm welcome for sure.
I just feel so bad. I'm like, I'm in the call, I'm so ready, and then I have to just go. It feels, it's unfortunate because I'm missing out on so much amazing gameplay from these schools.
Yeah, we've seen some really incredible gameplay today already, but like you said, everybody's back. Spring breaks mostly are kind of coming to a close now, albeit a couple of schools that have theirs a week later than everybody else. But we know Cincinnati's here, Delaware's here, and our other 4 teams of our our later 2 sets are also here. So we've got 3 sets lined up for you, and there's going to be 1 more as we leave. 2 newcasters will come in and take you for a wild ride. 45 seconds off the clock, and only 20% of the game gone. 0 points online for anybody. A huge whiff from Delaware keeps us at that 0-0.
I do want to point out, how crazy is that some schools are still on spring break? Or like,
some schools
I
start
think
late,
in like,
you know?
I think in like UConn's case, like they just started, maybe, which is like, how do you, why? What is isn't the semester like basically done by that stage? Anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely a late spring break. My undergrad did the same thing. We had spring break, we'd do finals, and then the semester was over. Or like, it was like we'd take like a longer break, like semester break or whatever. But that's a whole different story we can talk about later. 90 seconds gone. University of Cincinnati find themselves desperate to try to put a second game win down, putting yourself in a 2-0, notably more comfortable than barely sneaking out a 1-0 lead. And Delaware fighting just blow for blow right now. I don't think either team has really had a comfortable lead at any given moment.
They've just had advantages and they've had opportunities, but it's been such a deadlock in all cases. There's been, the occasional whiff, unfortunately. There's been the occasional mistake, but outside of that, these teams have not opened themselves up enough to get pounced on. Most of the mistakes that they've made are offensive, not defensive. Back on the goal, when it comes to keeping the opponent from scoring, these schools are no joke at all. Even though their offenses tend to take the spotlight when you're talking about these two schools, their ability to just get out of these uncomfortable situations is insane, and their defensive cycle just decides to speed up at the exact moments you need it to. Both these schools still dead set. It really will come down to which team opens their door first.
Yeah, which team can bust that door wide open for their own team. Half the game has already come and gone, and instead of a 2-2 overtime, we could see a golden goal scenario. Either of these teams can't score in the following 2.5 minutes. Could be a very low-scoring affair, but that makes this game a heck of a lot quicker, right? There's truly no safety net. You could just lose at any given moment. And D-Hacks, coast to coast, gets boxed out by Kiddo, and still no scores for either side.
What an incredible shift from the previous game as well. Both these teams were able to find such quick openings in the beginning because of their pickups off kickoff. And then they took those longer trades up until Cincinnati was, again, just able to find those little crevices. Pitch opened up a little bit. Kiddo's already on the way, though, so no big deal. As Scooter will drive it up. A true all-star here at EGF. Fortunately, can't carry it all the way. Doesn't have a lot of boost in the tank, as Delaware has been unable to really focus on procuring so much of that when they're already so focused on getting the cycle continuing in the first place, because both these teams, again, are just so good at these rebounds and retakes. We've been stuck around the middle third of this pitch for a good lion's share of this game, I believe. As another clash will send the ball back into red territory with 90 seconds to go. Delaware might have a chance here.
Yeah, Delaware might have a chance to strike if they're given a proper opportunity. Only 80 seconds left on the clock, and I fully agree, Tanner. We've seen most of this game in center field, but it's actually D-Hacks that breaks through first. That first goal goes online for Cincinnati. Only 79 seconds left on the clock before Delaware to answer back with the silence that this game has been screaming in our faces. I'm not sure Delaware is going to be able to answer back with the level of aggression necessary. Cincinnati may have game 2 in the bag by only a single point. Delaware's really got to pull the punches here.
Though I am concerned that Cincinnati will get in their own heads here on the defense, because it's normally just so consistent because they're able to counterattack so cleanly. But now if their mindset is solely on that, okay, let's hold it down, let's make sure this doesn't happen, then it may get a little toxicized. We see a lot of collegiate teams falling to that unfortunate conclusion, and even a lot of NA bubble teams that we see just kind of fall short when they're in a position where they try and play keep away or try and play with a defensive core in that final minute after getting that early lead, or even a late lead, as we see with Cincinnati. But instead, they've been holding down the attack the whole time. They've been keeping that aggression up and making sure that Delaware has as few opportunities as possible in the first place by just lighting up that defense.
Lighting up the defense is going to be the lineup here, and I'm not sure if Frick is going to be able to get a goal. We actually see a whiff from a teammate in the high ground, not able to get the lineup there. Aerial play falls short for Delaware. A great pass. He's going to be whiffed as well. The bump separates and the defense can't find it, and Kiddo ties us up 1-1. Again, we find a tie in the final 30 seconds of the game. University of Delaware barely by the skin of their teeth staying alive. Can Cincinnati clutch it out in another overtime or end things before we even get there?
Man, we really are just back and forth with these teams.
Straight up.
There is a reason they are both up here. I'm curious if they've played against each other before. I actually didn't check going into this, which just shows how professional I am of a caster. Is Frick finds the lineup for midfield with 17 to go, and Cincinnati is back on top.
Cincinnati finds themselves in a good position right now. Delaware, only 17 seconds to answer back. They find one goal in the first 30 seconds, last 30 seconds, and they have not been able to find anything since. Cincinnati taking a 1-point lead. 1 point's all they need. Walk away, can't let the greed get the best of them. No, D-Hacks goes for a block. Scooter finds it away, passes ball control into Delaware. Fast up and over, the bump comes through for Cincinnati. Oh no, defender falls a little wide. The engineer takes it up. Stellar tries to put it down into goal. The lineup, the follow through, the block falls short. And with only 3 seconds left, we've got a 2-2 on the board again.
And we just keep going. How did Stellar find so much velocity out of that? What a masterful flip. And to find that bottom 90 angle as well off of that shot, the coordination coming from Delaware there, absolutely incredible. Just goes to show why all 3 of those players, absolute MVPs in their own right. Frick early demo off kickoff, but Stellar goes for the solo carry, the double dunk, and unfortunately will fall dead, and we enter OT.
Enter OT here once again. It only took 31 seconds last time, maybe even 27. I don't remember the exact number, but the point stands. Not a lot of time needed for Cincinnati to win out in game number 1. Can Delaware force at least a game 4? It's incredibly close, but close only going to count in horseshoes and hand grenades, and neither of those involved in Rocket League. D-Hacks actually whiffs the defense, but Delaware wasn't able to get their own lineup. The engineer has to take it high. Kiddo goes for a goal. The engineer bounces it up into a shot off the corner. Cincinnati on a back foot like we haven't seen in a couple of minutes here. They finally break the curse, get the ball out of their back half as Kiddo sends it right back down the line. Delaware just delaying here until they can find it, but a phenomenal clear from D-Hacks opens us right back up. Scooter into the corner, clears it away, and Cincinnati, no free goals for them either.
D-Hacks sets it up, Stellar keeps it away, and Delaware continues playing the scapegoat. As Delaware attempting the attack again, Kiddo line drives it, unfortunate bit of a whiff as Frick gets the bluff, Scooter forced to come in a clutch. And Cincinnati has been able to keep these offenses a little more consistently.
Oh.
Engineer will find the shot, even though it is blocked. And Cincinnati will take their 2nd consecutive overtime.
2nd consecutive overtime and 2nd game
Scooter
win.
popped it down. He tried to get a bounce off the ground is what he tried to do, so nobody from Cincinnati could get that instant recovery in the middle.
It was a valiant effort for sure, Tunrick, but unfortunately, valiant efforts are not what's going to give you that win. The block falls a little bit short, and let's take a look at that. 10 shots on goal from Cincinnati. We're seeing 10 again. Sorry, that is 10 in 10. That really goes to show how close this game was. 1 point differential there in overtime. A team hat trick for Cincinnati at that. Cincinnati, and now
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. They've got one more chance. They've got one more game from Delaware to try and answer back, but the overtimes have just been devious against them so far.
It really is such a tight lock in between these teams. It's incredible. The fact that not only do they have identical shots, but they also have very close amount of saves, showing that not only are these teams both defensively viable, but their shots are also on target a lot of the time, which you don't see in a lot of collegiate opportunities. Most of the time, it's just fishing for mistakes, but Cincinnati and Delaware, they have to go hunting. They are on the prowl for those openings that they have to just bust down themselves. Engineer going to search for one right off kickoff. Again, no stranger to that at this point with these two teams, but here in Game 3, when Delaware is on that last door, especially against a team that is right next to them in these standings, to get shut out like this would be so huge for that differential on top of that. They don't want to let go of this so easy.
Go of this easily at all. 30 seconds have come and gone. Cincinnati trying to find an opportunity. Frick goes for the goal. Kiddo is going to be able to block it out. So no early goals from Cincinnati. We haven't seen an early goal since game number 1. The goals have really become a lot later in the game. They're in game 2, and game 3 is Cincinnati's time to really show Delaware they mean business. This might be the first team this entire season to 3-0 Delaware, as they have very few losses, and it's not going to be a 3-0 yet, though. Let's not get our hopes up. Kiddo gets boxed out, but Stellar's follow-up gives Delaware their first lead in a long, long time.
And that's a great way to do it, isn't it? Delaware needs to clamor to get on top of Cincinnati so they can't rebound, so they cause that traffic jam. Kiddo, a great pass back to make sure that the rest of Delaware is also there. That makes the rest of Cincinnati force themselves to pack in and slow down. Then you can pounce. Delaware on top.
Delaware on top of the matchup here. Lineup works in their favor. They have a bit of a sloppy play. D-Hacks gets the demolition. We see Frick running it downfield, bounces it off the wall into that center progress, and Delaware sends it high, a bit of a no man's land into center. D-Hacks tries to play defense, gets the chance to do so, double bounce out. Stellar goes for a lineup. There's the pitch and the follow through, just a little off to the side. Unfortunately, that little bit goes a long way and keeps Delaware only up by that 1 point. Secondary chance. And it's clean. Stellar finds it. Double goal for Delaware, and they are desperate to make sure they do not lose in a 3-0 fashion.
They're just holding down that offense, the same thing that Cincinnati has been able to do, but Cincinnati is a little more volatile. Simple as that. Delaware is simply more disciplined. Cincinnati can be better at specific points, but they have to be allowed to be. And if Delaware just completely suppresses that, then there's no way that Cincinnati can break out of their own box. But that's much easier said than done, isn't it? Cincinnati just always has a way of slithering out of these opportunities. Engineer has the bump along the bump back, but Stellar is able to continue the attack for Delaware, at least to begin things here. And with that slow velocity, again, Cincinnati can't get that instant counterattack, especially considering that they have that lead against them now, so they can't take as many risks. As Kiddo will once again take it from midfield. Frick brings it back. That's one of the first booms we've seen all game from UC.
Yeah, one of the first booms we have seen from Cincinnati. D-Hax is going to get the lineup here. Tries to get the follow-through to the engineer, in and off the corner. There's the setup. The follow-through falls wide, hits the goal, and it's going to be Frick who comes in clutch there from the center field. Puts the first point down. Only a minute 50 off the clock. 3:10 remain, and Cincinnati cuts the lead in half. Trying to put Delaware back on the bottom here. Possibly another 2-2 overtime. Let's see if Delaware can break that curse.
Once again, the second they break out, they are so beyond dangerous. Shout out to the engineer, who's been taking less shots and actually has been taking more of a role as that demo and disruptor for the team. And for the three-man cycle, that's actually been working a lot more often because for the normal collegiate level that we see in EGF, around the middle of the pack, your Villanovas, your GWUs, you tend to see a lot of simple three-man shots off the back passes that you hope don't get blocked in time. For Cincinnati's favor, their angles are so weird and stupid, and to this point, so are Delaware's, where they can kind of focus on the other aspects because they know that second shot is going to be on target in the first place. And if they focus on instead just putting that nose to the grindstone instead on your enemies, then that can make it even more efficient and much quicker to grab those goals. Now, UC able to get the drop on Delaware like that. The mental has been completely reset. The sweep is still absolutely possible with 2.5 minutes left on the clock, and Delaware right now unable to get out of their own corner.
Yeah, Delaware cannot get out of the way in time. Frick is going to go up and over, a very clean showing, but they fall off to the left side. Going to be on that third defender from Cincinnati to come up away from the goal. It's an open goal, nobody home on Cincinnati's box, and Delaware have a lineup. Let's see if they can get the hard drive in. Oh my goodness, the engineer barely keeping that dream alive, not letting Delaware break that 2-point curse, and Cincinnati has to do it not once, but twice. A whiff from Delaware falls off the crossbar. Frick does it again and keeps Delaware locked in at that second point.
Y'all ever see that show Hole in the Wall over on Nick, where like you had to like stand a specific way when the wall came at you, or else you get like knocked into a pool or something? That's what Cincinnati's defense makes me feel like, because every time they stop the ball, it feels like they're just like frozen in time, making their one specific pose, one specific stance to block all incoming fire, and it just works. It works so often because they just know this game so well. They have some airtime, they have some velocity, but they also have three defenders standing right in front of them. Gonna be so difficult to tie this up, but with the offense still raging and 80 seconds to go, it is still super possible.
80 seconds left. Cincinnati definitely looking for that 3-0 on the board. I think there's no larger message to send in the EGF than 3-0ing Delaware. D-Hack's unbelievably close. Just can't get the shot on it. We jump down now to double digits. 60 seconds remain. Can Cincinnati clutch this out and force another overtime where they currently have a 100% win rate? Or can Delaware force a game 4?
I want to see some pinches from Cincinnati. That's what you need to see at this point. Delaware looks so stable, and they've been like triple committing to everything, but they have the leisure to because they've been backing up a little bit. They haven't been focusing so heavily on the attack. They understand that Cincinnati can get those rebounds really quickly and just say, okay, so we'll be able to retreat a little bit quicker. We'll sacrifice that those goal-scoring capabilities, maybe a couple shots. We won't be able to pad our stats as much, but instead, we'll be more consistent when Cincinnati actually gets to attack. And that's what we've been seeing is this point where Cincinnati still controls possession, but Delaware still controls the game, and it's 3-1.
3-1, 30 seconds left, and Delaware has all but guaranteed themselves a game 4 and another opportunity to strike through. The lineup has been difficult for Cincinnati, but you're already up by 2, losing one game, not the end of the world. You might have to look at it as a GG. Go next. What did we do wrong in this game that gave us a loss? What did we do incorrectly that gave our opponents the opportunity to strike and take us down even just this 1 point? Cincinnati feeling comfortable, but Delaware really starting to hit their stride. 20 seconds remain. A great clear into the no man's land makes it harder for Cincinnati to get ball control and even try to shoot on goal right now.
It really is just so awkward, and with 10 seconds to go, this is probably just about a done deal, as Delaware is not going to let that go so easily, and Cincinnati just cannot get a good hand on it. A good wheel on it, I suppose. Good bumper. Good door on it. Delaware takes again.
Delaware takes game number 3 there, forces a game 4. Are we going to get a reverse sweep on the series, or is it instead going to be a slower burn performance? Either way, Delaware, you've done it. You've got a little bit of momentum. What can you do with that momentum now that you found it? You can't go into game 4 and say, okay, we're just going to play defense, or you're going to get smoked. You've got to come in. You've got to be hyper-aggressive, and I think their hyper-aggression is how they won this. They got that first point down early. They found another off the back of Stellar, who really woke up this game, and if they can continue to enable Stellar, maybe they can take Cincinnati to a game 5.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible with the discipline that we, again, have seen from Delaware evolving and growing. especially considering the fact that these teams tend to win pretty quickly in series as well. The fact that Delaware is able to just spring back like that, take that first game in a pretty commanding fashion, all things considered, I gotta say, that looked really good and stable for Delaware. Then this will absolutely go to 5, but you gotta stay consistent in Cincinnati. Again, they are explosive. If you let go for a second, they will take a mile, and off kickoff, they are just as lethal. D-Hack scores the quickest goal of the series so far.
Yeah, a 5-second goal beating out, I believe it was 11-second goal back in game number 1. Cincinnati has a new fire lit underneath them as they want to win this against Delaware, and they know if they begin to slip, if they don't adapt, if they don't change, Delaware is going to beat them, so they have to come out early. D-Hack plays a hyper-aggressive, and it's going to be another clear down. That could be a goaltender, but it has to see how the double tap comes to fruition. Stellar gets that defensive play and makes sure the lead only stays at 1 point as of right now.
Scooter back out again. Scooter and Stellar have both shown, again, all-star performances this season. Real breakout stars for the league. And I cannot wait to see what they've got going forward. Oh, great tap off the backboard. That's a great way to save that for Cincinnati, because they still get to remain static. Engineer the demo along the way as well. Leads to a clearer boom, but Scooter recovering far more quickly than anticipated, and it's another defensive whiff that puts us in a tie game.
Tied game comes out here loud and proud for Delaware. They make it a 1-1 on the board. Now Cincinnati definitely not sweating, right? It's not the lead they wanted, but they've won in overtime twice. They know that things can stay a little close and they can still come out on top, but I'm just hoping they didn't run a sprint instead of a marathon, and maybe they're running out of jet here in game number 4. A great pass from the Engineer, actually going to get countered out. Almost a score for Delaware off of it. Demolition onto D-Hacks makes it a little easier for Cincinnati. Another one onto the Engineer. Can Frick be the solo hero, the Dark Knight of the play, but not going to be able to do so here today. 1 minute gone, 1-1 on the board, and one defender left standing for Cincinnati in this moment. The Engineer clears it away.
This game exiting its first stage, now heading into its midday. As D-Hacks, wow, what a weave to still find that ball after Stellar made a great fake. Engineer will divvy it back to the corner, but Delaware just continues this path that they've been trailblazing for themselves. Scooter, another demo. Frick back out once more, and Delaware continues to enclose themselves, but the double swing from Cincinnati on the other end will lead to the possession be taken back. Engineer to Kiddo. Big boom. Not big enough, though, and D-Hacks actually finds a high angle that Engineer is able to get ahead of.
The Engineer finds the clear and says, Delaware, get out of here. 2-1 victory for the University of Cincinnati right now, but it's only 3:13 on the clock. You've taken the lead once again, but every time they do, Delaware answers back within a minute. We've seen 2-2 3 different times now this series, and I'm going to be wondering if we see it that 4th and final time, possibly, or if Delaware can answer back. Over half the game left to be played, and Delaware already with ball control.
Cincinnati had to win those first 2 games in OT with a 3-2 scoreline. Delaware didn't need that OT in game number 3. Brought it to a 3-1 score. Now can they continue this streak? Can they recover again and have a blowout performance? They need to restrict Cincinnati, but as they've had more time on the pitch against this team, as they've had more time to get their bearings on their enemies, which again, as it turns out, these teams have not faced each other this season, so this is a first-time matchup.
Wow.
Now, Cincinnati starting to know their opponents as the more explosive and brighter team. I have a feeling they may catch on to things a little too quickly here and take it in game 4. There are those recovery moments. There is still Scooter on this corner who has to force Frick to save, and also force Cincinnati into having an unrequited boom. Actually, Frick gets spaced on it and is barely saved by Scooter, who made it all the way back around. It's a 1v3 for that entire interaction, and 30 seconds have been burned off the clock.
30 seconds burned off the clock. Cincinnati, I think they're playing the most complicated game of keep away we've ever seen. This could be their strategy at the end. I couldn't say I blame them in the slightest. If they can't score, you win by 1 point. It's something we see a lot in collegiate. You know, we don't have to beat them by a lot. We just got to beat them a little. And as a goal goes in for Scooter, it becomes that much harder. 1:08 left on the clock, and University of Cincinnati has got to pick things up.
Recovery after recovery. An identical scoreline to what we exited regulation in games 1 and 2. But that scoreline was not held onto for this long. Something broke within the time that is allotted right now. even in regulation. 100 seconds to go. And most of these ties, these 2-2 ties, were resolved in about half of that. Do we see that again? Do we see a team rise above again with time to spare? Or do we enter overtime for the 3rd time this series? Great shot back here. Kiddo gets it away.
I'm talking with a muted mic. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be the opportunity.
I was so terrified. I was like, I thought,
no,
I had to check Discord. Where did he go? Did he die? What happened?
I muted it, and then I just forgot to unmute it. So that's my fault. But right now, I know that the players are definitely worried about what's happening. They've got less than a minute on the clock. This is normally when we'd enter that 2-2 threshold. Then we'd go silently into overtime. We'd need a turnaround from somebody. Stellar tries to be the hero Delaware needs. Can't get the lineup, but Kiddo certainly can. In the game 5, a little more likely here. 47 seconds on the clock. Cincinnati has to answer back, or they're going to be taken all the way down with the threat of a reverse sweep on the horizon.
Now that is Cincinnati paying the price, Frick in particular, for bumping Engineer on the way to a drive that didn't even connect, and so was left, unfortunately, with the ball stuck in the middle of the field and only one player available. Not sure whose fault in communication that was, but in general, as a team, you can't let that kind of stuff happen, because that simple recovery gone awry has now led to Delaware taking a lead that they just have to hold on to for another 30 seconds, which is entirely feasible unless D-Hacks has something to say about it, all the way to the corner already. And now Cincinnati really getting guttural. Frick up to the center. There's no setup, so I don't know why he'd do that unless he just wants to get it away from Delaware, which might end up being the move. If you keep space from a team that has been able to hold it down this long, then you might be able to get away with a goal too. As another bump from Frick leads to the double commit on the defense. 10 seconds to go. Stellar blocked away. Frick upstairs off the backboard. D-Hacks, no recovery. Both members of Cincinnati too far ahead. And Kiddo will kill it on the other end. Keep it 3-2 and make it a tied series.
The tied series for Delaware here. This is one of the scariest things about this program, Tenric, is the fact that you just consistently cannot count them out. It is not over until it is over. I cannot stress that enough. This is a team notorious for their adaptation, notorious for their in-game improvements, and I think Cincinnati's unfortunately on the wrong side of that right now. 11 shots on goal for Cincinnati and 10 on goal for Delaware. They're able to win it as well, so a higher score ratio. Cincinnati's got to change something here, Tenric.
It's not... I have to disagree. I don't think Cincinnati needs to change. I think they just need to step it up. They just need to patch up these mistakes. Because that's what Delaware has thrived off of, is Cincinnati just bungling on their attack and Delaware just turning it into shots. If Cincinnati can make sure that their communication is perfect the whole time, they can make sure they don't commit too heavily to these shots, if they don't, let themselves get taken over on open nets, then this should be a pretty done deal for Cincinnati, in my opinion. But Delaware, again, they're the more consistent team throughout series. They're the more disciplined team, and that may end up being enough to carry them through the series and make them the legitimately superior team among these two in EGFC, the East Division as a whole. A lot riding on this last game.
This last game, all of a sudden, Cincinnati starts unbelievably strong, but they found out there's a very adaptive team among us. University of Delaware gonna adapt fast enough. Scooter 1 point down here in game 5, and Delaware really looking good to possibly win this. However, it's a quick goal, so there is most of the game left, 90% of the game left to be played.
I mean, again, that's all three of Cincinnati being on the front line when 150 changes that. And you can rotate back as much as you want. You have already cost yourself a couple seconds. And a team like Delaware can do anything with that. Scooter is just going to score within that couple seconds for the second time.
That is just absurd. Tried and
what a
truly
bounce.
This team, absolute dominance right now. What a bounce indeed. Truly, Delaware find themselves up 2-0. Barely 30 seconds off the clock here. Barely 10% of the game gone.
Back up we go, pinched away into midfield in Cincinnati. A lot of work to do off the backboard. Engineer attempted shots off target. A big opportunity already gone. The post kickoff opportunity already gone. And so now you have to start from scratch, or maybe give yourself another kickoff if Delaware just scores again. Unfortunately, saves just in time. So no 3-0 just yet, but you know for a fact Scooter's going to be looking for that hat trick for the rest of this game.
Oh, absolutely. You're already up by 2.
Oh, Engineer.
Oh, that is not going to be the lineup
that's
that
painful.
UC wanted. Frick might find something here, but instead it's Stellar who gets that box away. University of Cincinnati keeping it so unbelievably close, but as they've learned, close can giveth and close can taketh away. They've lost 2 in a row. They don't want to make it 3, but it's already a minute 20, almost 30 is gone, and Delaware trying to find that hat trick or even just a 3rd point could be huge, and Cincinnati forced into the back foot again.
They've just been unable to break out as consistently as they did before. Delaware has them unlocked. 3.5 minutes to reverse that process, but whiff after whiff. Cincinnati may just be losing the mental game at this stage, and Stellar is going to punch in another dagger for it. It's 3-0.
3-0, 3:17 left on the clock, and University of Delaware just coming out large and in charge. I don't know if they were playing with their food or what, but holy cow, as this team unlocked their 6th chakra in the most important moment. To go back and almost get 3-0'd from Cincinnati, then to go in and drop a reverse sweep on them is almost more impressive than a 3-0, because it shows they've got the mental fortitude to win out in a dominant series like this.
And you just continue. Delaware says, duh, have you met us? But again, all eyes are on Cincinnati. They are the team that acts in a situation like this. They're the team that takes the shots. They're the team that tries to bamboozle the defenses. But Delaware has been disallowing all of these openings that Cincinnati's been trying to manifest for themselves. And Frick with a bump, that'll create some space. But again, there's just no time behind it. And Cincinnati is chasing ghosts for a lot of these approaches. But it's all they can really muster for a lot of them, too. Delaware, again, has this figured out. Scooter gets a double positive trade. D-Hack's forced to bounce it up. Not a great touch, but another whiff from Delaware will actually give this to Cincinnati.
A whiff from Delaware is a critical moment. Oh, wow. D-Hacks gets it through just shy of that halftime here. We've just entered the second half of the game, and D-Hacks takes it up off the wall. Let's get another look at kind of what goes wrong here. The defense misreads the angle. It falls into that top left corner, and Cincinnati makes it doable.
Yeah, who could have thunk it? That was really unpredictable from D-Hacks, but the demo on top of that, again, the opening was found in that bitter end.
Yeah.
Threading the needle with 2 to go, Cincinnati has shown again and again that they will not make it so easy for Delaware. It is always going to be difficult. It is always going to be 2 of the greatest teams in EGF. Engineer and D-Hacks working overtime to get to overtime. Engineer back from the corner. Cincinnati still pushing, but not yet thriving. Delaware, ooh, faulty touchback. Frick, no rush down, not enough boost for it. Kiddo can touch it back. Cincinnati forced to neutrality. Engineer puts it up, gonna try and do something with it, but D-Hack's unfortunate bounce. Frick tries to manifest something, can't get a good bounce either. Tried to redirect it there, but there's just too much presence on Delaware to make something like that work. And another bump from Frick into a teammate will lead to another opening that will turn into another Delaware goal.
You hate to see it if you are a Cincinnati fan right now. 90 seconds left. You're looking at 1 goal per 30 seconds just to tie things up, force another overtime and win 5-4 in overtime. One of the largest reverse sweeps we would be seeing in a singular game. But Delaware getting ready to give us one of the largest reverse sweeps we've seen in a series in a long, long time. So dangerous close to being that 3-0, but instead Delaware has taken it all the way to 80 seconds left with a 3-point lead. Cincinnati about to be knocked down a peg.
I mean, that was the second time this series where Frick bumping into somebody led to them being out of commission for a goal that they could have absolutely defended. And they're 2 very crucial goals.
Yeah.
This 4th one for Delaware being basically a guarantee that this lead is not going to be brought back, as Delaware just can play so slowly now, melt away this clock. Cincinnati has to become so much more bombastic, but when you're already a 10 for so much of the game, how much can you crank it up to 11 here? In Cincinnati, their tanks just may be empty here. A lot of whiffs, a lot of unfortunate contests that they're just unable to really work with. D-Hacks almost gets it, but Cincinnati cannot take anything away from it because the triple commit to the defense just works.
Commit to the defense is going to be working here. 30 seconds left. 1 goal per 10 right now, I think. That is not where you want to be seeing a momentum like this against you, but I really do think it's going to be wrapped up with a nice little bow on top.
Oh.
Kiddo puts the 5th one down, and that is absolutely the nail in the coffin. I think it's 1 per 4 seconds now for Cincinnati to try and win this out. Delaware just demolishing game 5.
Yeah, by that point, Cincinnati had to get desperate, and so Delaware picking up the goal off of it. That's just the risk you take, and that's what you lose off of it potentially. So, done deal here as a series. Delaware, what a comeback, reverse sweep, and now they're just gonna go for a Brazil for the hell of it.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, they are just absolutely dominating the matchup right now, and it is
Goal for Scooter, by the way.
6-1, another goal for Scooter. Let's see if they can put that 7-1 on the board.
17 seconds to do it is, I mean, how much is UC gonna try and stop it from happening? Again, they have to be just so tired. Delaware may just get away with this. I mean, they get away with the win. Oh, they're not even gonna try for it. Kiddo's just gonna keep it in the air. Having fun with it, playing with their food for a little bit longer until they can officially declare that they are the better team. They are officially going to be a top 5 lock for EGFC Rocket League playoffs this season.
A top 5 lock, absolutely absurd, but Delaware comes in, they find the reverse sweep, and they clean house off the back of it, Tenric. It is the 3-2 victory they needed to win that series. They needed to give themselves that secured spot in the top 5, and now they can feel even more comfortable shooting for the top 3. We're going to go ahead and throw it to a short break here. We're going to be back either with an interview or another series of Rocket League in just a couple of minutes.
Esports is competitive gaming. Imagine playing really any video game you ever enjoyed playing, but playing it competitively to the best of your abilities. The Esports Club, though, we're more than just competitive teams. We host gaming for everybody. We just want people to come out, play games, have fun, and then hopefully host a few good teams that might win a few championships for the school.
We are definitely developing and pushing to build and develop that infrastructure that a lot of other clubs already have. Whatever skill level you are, you can come out, have fun, compete, don't compete. We welcome anyone.
There's not really a spot elsewhere for people to just play video games. Our club is definitely like all-inclusive, so if you're like even just a casual gamer that games, you know, an hour a day or, you know, an hour a week, it doesn't really matter. You can come and play and make friends, so that's really what it's all about.
A club like this is meant to bring games out of the dorm room and meet other people, make friends. We do game nights every other Friday night. You'll get an opportunity to play some games you've never played and meet some people you wouldn't meet otherwise. So if you're interested in gaming, come on out to the club and see what it's about.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to EGFC Rocket League. I am Sepulins, joined by Tenric once again, and we've got Howard University versus the University of Tennessee. Now, all statistics do suggest, Tenric, that this one should be pretty darn one-sided.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, Howard hasn't gotten a lot of time in the spotlight, unfortunately. They're new to the split this season. Tennessee has been really consistent so far. Howard coming off of, I believe, 3 straight forfeits, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's from spring break or personnel just not being available. Either way, they don't have a great record, and a lot of it is just because they haven't been able to play the games that they clearly want to so badly. And Tennessee being their first opponent back is a little bit unfortunate, but I'm still excited to see what they have to offer. So far, it looks like they're being able to hold it down pretty well in the neutral. Tennessee looking to find a way, and that might be it. Yep, Mikey finds the first one.
Yep, Mikey finds that goal early for UTK and gives them the lead that we are not the least bit surprised to see them find. 26 seconds off the clock. UTK puts themselves up by 1 here in game 1 of possibly 5.
Yeah, that best of 5 that we got to see so cleanly demonstrated previously from Cincinnati and Delaware. A reminder about the other games happening today over on EGF Rocket League. Currently, St. John's University and DePaul University also squaring off. So if you have a spare tab, or some spare RAM, please, by all means, make sure to check out that game too. As again, this is the penultimate week of the season. These are, these teams' last chances to get as much as they can, and Tennessee gonna try and run away with this as much as possible to get those stats nice and padded. A second goal, this time by Jobro, is a great way to do it.
2-0 early for Tennessee, and this could be a very high-scoring game. UTK, a team not notorious for pulling punches by any means, but I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to hit double digits here. I think that's really the name of the game right now. Like you said, Howard doesn't have a lot of collegiate experience. They've had to forfeit 3 weeks in a row. Going up against one of the absolute top dogs of EGFC, your first week back is not a good spot to be in.
Tennessee's had it rough this past week, as they also lost to Cincinnati the previous week, actually. And so it might be kind of funny if this team, who I believe is about even with Cincinnati in the standings still, maybe 1 game below, will not only recover, but pounce ahead of Cincinnati in the standings if they're able to pad these stats a little more. Because that round differential and point differential may be very severely changed after this game. So Cincinnati better watch their backs for that top 5 cusp that Tennessee is also trying to vie for, just as Delaware was able to fully claim today. But Howard finally getting some airtime here. Maybe a chance on the attack, as a little bit of a clash, a little bit of a traffic jam forces Jobro to take it from the corner.
Forcing Jobro into the corner here. Trimmy tries to get a lineup towards center field and just sinks it. Jobro finds an early goal once again, and UTK up by 4, only 90 seconds off the clock.
Let's see that again. Beautiful juggle, and then, yeah, just drops it. Wow, that was really clean. A lot of confidence, but at this point, I think he has the privilege to have it, at least for this opening game, at least for these opening 90 seconds. Right now, UTK absolutely having Howard's number. But again, it's not something we didn't expect. Again, Howard is very new to EGF. They haven't gotten a lot of time out on the pitch on this collegiate level, and Tennessee are veterans at this point. Ooh, good shot by Chemistry, though.
Are truly veterans. Like you said, Chemistry does find a lineup early. Going to be down by 4 in game number 1, and that 4-point threshold is normally where we consider these teams to be down and out with it. They kind of have to wrap this up as a GG go next, going into the next game, trying to find any points there. Taking what they learned in game 1 and trying to implement it in game 2. A bit of a whiff from UTK avoids their 5th point on the board, and Howard has the entire second half to try and respond.
Once again, Mikey, a solo carry from Tennessee to get so much distance. Attempted finisher off the backboard. Instead, it's a third man that is blocked by Black Skittle. Trimmy, back up from the corner. How much time did Tennessee want to waste, and how many goals does Tennessee want to score? That's the balance they want to try and track down. Mikey is going to find his 2nd of the game and UTK's 5th as we just approach halftime.
Halftime still not emerging quite yet. We just barely hit it there. 2:30 on the clock, and UTK already finding 5 points, currently on record to hit double digits, like I mentioned way back in the very first goal of this game. The question stands, however, are they going to be able to line it up, or is Howard going to be able to answer back with any points?
Playing for distance is Howard. Just trying to find that presence that Tennessee so easily is able to get so far, as they're going to control this corner for a moment. Mikey, great fake back. Black Skittle reads it, though, and Jobro has to bounce it through. Trimmy attempted finisher off the backboard, and Mikey's going to be a little late to the party, but they'll just try to extend this attack. Unfortunately, Chemistry will bring it off angle, and UTK has to extend themselves just a little bit more. Trimmy, great bump onto 33 Dreams, but no recovery intact. UTK falling a bit short now. Howard is starting to level up those saves, and will be able to hold it down at least for a little while.
Holding it down for just a moment here. UTK is going to look for another shot, but Chemistry doesn't find the lineup in time. 90 seconds remaining here for Howard to try and answer anything, but this looks like it very likely may be a 5-minute drought on the board. UTK sends it high, a bit of a clear down toward goal once again. Howard blocks it away. Chemistry trying to play offense and defense, just cannot get both at the same time. University of Tennessee, Knoxville. 80 seconds left. They're feeling real strong about their odds to win this one.
Jobro, another shot, blocked by 33. As UTK, they've controlled most of the attack, and this is similar to most top seeds you see taking on bottom seeds in any space of Rocket League, as you see Howard doing great defensively at a lot of these parts of the games. You're going to be really impressed by those save stats when you look back on Octane or RLE and see what it says, but that'll simply be because they are getting attacked so frequently. And UTK has found so many shots on this team. so many ways to oppress, but it's what we expect. It is David really taking on Goliath today, unfortunately, for Howard's re-entry into EGF at the tail end of this spring and season. 30 seconds to go. There's been a big drought for UTK goals, and they're actually going to take it back to their own to have fun with it. And unfortunately, Howard unable to find the hits off the backboard that'll connect fully into the goal. Instead, Trimmy up and at him for the 1v2. HU still makes it work.
HU makes it work. 10 seconds going to be trickling down to single digits here. UTK getting the lineup, trying to find a follow through. Just one more on the board, but a 5-0 looks like it is where game one is going to come to a close. 1/3 done with their goal here today, Tenrick, and only 2 games left for Howard to answer back.
And as that defense has had some great strides for Howard, able to keep them 2-5 for the rest of that game. Full 2.5 minutes where Tennessee just didn't score. They also found some great shots. Chemistry was able to take 2 really good ones. And there were a lot of times where Howard found some space. Sometimes Tennessee gave it to them intentionally just to play with their foot a little bit. But there were some times, especially off kickoff, where Howard was able to make a lot of space and actually catch this team off guard. And so if that ego bleeds just a little bit too far and Howard really pops off by the end of this series, we could see a 4-game or a 5-game series intact, or at least some goals on the board for Howard.
And I've seen before, I talk about this often because it was here in the EGF, it was EGFH actually, where we saw a team be up by 2-0, they go scarabs for game 3, and then they get reverse swept. And it's like, your overconfidence doomed you there. Like, you were so good, the odds of winning were so high, but when you overextend it, when you get overconfident, it can and often will cost you at least a single game, if not more.
Once again, we are back into game 2, and Tennessee going to attempt to open it up with a flashy goal, but it has blocked all 3 attempts on target. All slow, granted, but that's because Tennessee didn't have anything left in the tank. Trimmy has a much fuller one for this next approach, but 33 blocks it nice and early. Mikey back up again, and UTK continuing to control this possession that will eventually lead into a goal unless Jobro continuously chokes it.
Choking it once again, not the lineup you want to see, but Jobro not able to find that shot. 30 seconds off the clock here. Howard goes for a bounce in and off the wall, but they actually set UTK up for a great play. Mikey boxes it out, and Trimmy is not able to find that goal off the front of their own teammate.
Mikey up again. To Jobro down the middle. Once again blocked, but it takes 2 players, and that'll leave Trimmy the open net for UTK to finally take that first one.
UTK takes a lead here, definitely feeling strong about their chances of success in game number 2. This is exactly where this team wants to be. They're notorious for playing a hyper-aggressive play style like this. It takes nearly a minute to score, but with that 1 point, they know exactly what needs to be done to win.
33 down from the ceiling. Another player we've seen gain a great amount of space. All 3 of these players on Howard are really solid. I gotta say, I can't wait to see what this team has in store for us next season.
Yeah, absolutely. This season, unfortunately, like you said, has already kind of gotten away from them a little bit, but next season is going to be a brand new one. If they bring in this same roster, they've got a lot of strong fundamentals against them. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a great example of those, just, again, due to the nature of UTK being a really, truly high-caliber team. But Howard definitely looking to improve those fundamentals and see what they can change in games 2, and just like you said, going further into the season or into next year.
And they're able to stumble through a lot of UTK's experimentation that we're seeing here. As UTK is going for a lot of setups, they're practicing a lot of their comms. They're going through a lot of these motions to see what they can get away with and what they can really accomplish against a team as low in the standings as Howard. But the defense is really poking through a lot of the time. But it is a war of attrition, a war that will be won by UTK, and this time by Mikey grabbing a goal here for them as well.
Mikey grabs the goal for UTK, 2-0 on the board. This is where a team can really start to feel just a little bit more comfortable with their odds. Kickoff once again, 2 minutes missing in game number 2, and Knoxville looking to get a little bit of speed on their side if they're able to line it up early. Goes for a Hail Mary play in and off the wall, double taps it down. Oh, and it's just a little shy of that goal. No purchase yet.
Back up from Mikey. And through the motions we go again. Howard, again, has not only not had much time to develop this season, but they entered in this split and instantly got one of the toughest schedules I think I've ever seen for a team just getting into the league. They lost to Seton Hall to start things out.
Oof.
I know, right?
Tough start
and then
already, yeah.
Immediately after that, they go to Marquette, which is another great benchmark team for you to face off against.
Yeah.
They got swept by them too. And then they played Xavier.
Oh.
After that, I know, yeah, an interesting one for sure. And then they entered that forfeit streak. But they would have had to play against Cincinnati, and then directly after that, University of Delaware.
Oh my.
I know.
Trial by
and
fire.
then directly after that, Rochester Institute of Technology.
Oh my God.
And now here they
so
are against
sorry,
UTK.
Howard.
It's like they've gotten the entire top half of the standings against them.
That's almost every team in the top half of the EGFC. That is most of the top dogs here in our program, and Howard had to face every single one. Howard, I'm just sorry. I don't even make the schedule, and I'm just sorry.
So
that
unfair,
sucks
dude.
so bad.
It's crazy.
Even for a top half team, that schedule is almost impossible. Like, that is incredible.
That's really mean considering the fact that, like, Howard is a school that is, like, placed in a division late. And, like, look, I get it. Like, the Eastern Division is, like, super brutal and everything. But to put them in there at this point in the season and then just only have games against those, that is mean, dude. That is mean.
They just had to fight through and through. They've shown up for a good chunk of their games. We've got to respect them for that. Trimmy finds that 3-1 on the board, gives UTK that 2-point lead. They won once again as 90 seconds are the only seconds left here in game number 2. A phenomenal bounce back from Howard, but unfortunately that third man was found. Trimmy does find that goal and puts the 3rd point online as well.
That's a great goal from Howard to find a way in. Mechanics-wise, Tennessee is the better team, but again, their ego getting the best of them will let them stumble and force them to kind of wipe themselves off and go back to square one, which we're seeing here is they'll go for plain mechs off the top. They'll try and make that skill ceiling higher because they have been forced to respect Howard, and they will be forced again after Black Skittle makes a beautiful chow to make it just a 1-goal game.
A 1-goal game here. Howard really coming back to life in game number 2 with 70 seconds left. Are they going to be able to break through with the speed they're looking for? It's been close. UTK, I think you're totally right, Tenrick, getting maybe a little too comfortable, a little too confident, letting their guard down a bit, and Howard has sniped in not once, but twice, and they're looking to make it thrice. Put a tie on the board and at least force an overtime would be great against UTK.
Mikey, one tap, chemistry whiffs, but so does 2 members of UTK, and Joe Bro also. UTK, where are they for these plays right now? They have attempted to leave the building before the game has ended, and even if you were playing against the easiest bots known to man, modded easiest bots for that matter, you modded like a rat using a controller into this game, you would still have to stay for those 5 minutes.
Absolutely. You've got to stick around for those 5 minutes because the ball rolling into goal
my goodness.
is something we see often, just like that. UTK dropping the ball right now. I mean, it is incredible. This is an upper echelon, top 5 team in the EGFC, and Howard, who unfortunately has had a very hard season, is tied them up in a game where UTK should not be letting this happen. But,
yeah,
folks, if you needed an example of what overzealousness can do for you, there it is.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. If they lose now, that will be embarrassing for a team of this seed. Like, such a big bout of disrespect. They understand that and are now just dancing around the goal. They really do think that they can take this so easily, but I don't think Howard is going to let go of this. They're going to hold on. They're going to keep tugging. Trimmy is going to whiff it. Mikey for the bluff into the corner again. I can't tell how much of this is missing on purpose and how much of this is UTK just throwing.
Yeah, I mean, there really is a weird kind of back and forth happening right now with UTK. This could be a miss. The ball goes up into the air, and are we going to get an overtime? Oh, they missed the double tap, and it's an OT here. UTK, I feel like I'm bullying a little bit, but I've gotta. Like, they are absolutely overplaying their hand. They are messing around, and finally, they've got to put the working hat back on and put that 4th goal down. But letting that get that close, I mean, that should not be happening. And it's not even that Howard is that bad, right? It's that Howard is very inexperienced in this moment. They have not played against a lot of collegiate teams. UTK's been in the EGF for, I think, 3 seasons now. They're a top 5 team. This should be a clean one for them, and that certainly was not.
Yeah, they shouldn't be allowing goals. Like, seriously, they shouldn't be allowing anything right now from Howard. And yet, they have, like, leaned back in their chair and started laughing with the boys, like, 4 times this game. And what did it show for it? A 1-goal game that was taken to overtime against a team that literally has not won a game this season. That is enough of a bar to set for not only Howard, but EGF as a
why am I all
whole,
the way over there?
that Tennessee, if they do anything like this in the postseason, if they let go for a second, then they will be the joke. They will be the butt of that entire series, of this entire tournament. That was legitimately, like, what an effort from Howard to really just, like, shut up Tennessee for a second there. Definitely cathartic, but not as cathartic as this sweep that UTK is going to try and cement right here and now. I certainly hope that their discipline is a little better this game, because otherwise, once again, their differential is not going to show well for it. And I think they'd like to be ahead of University of Cincinnati going into the postseason.
Yeah, Trimmy comes out early. They realize, okay, let's focus up a little bit here. 5 more minutes and we can call it a day. UTK is going to be able to find that first point on the board, and they're not going to get that lineup yet, though. Only 1 point lead. We saw Howard answer that earlier. I'm sure it's going to be answered here once again.
Once again, good kickoff from Trimmy. Great carry. Jobro's just going to convert that immediately. And here is the UTK that we're used to seeing, right? The team that just knows how to get it done, knows they can get it done against a team like this. Like, we don't want to see it. We don't want to see you take it easy. We don't want to see you, like, just shoot against the backboard over and over again. It is the second to last game of the season. You are trying to farm numbers here against a bottom seed team, because then you can get ahead of the teams that can still beat you. Cincinnati swept Tennessee last week.
Yeah.
And they have a chance to be ahead of them in the standings if they can get a good enough differential here. And now that I feel like they understand that now.
Yeah.
So here in game 3, we're seeing them do what we know they can do against a team that, again, is as inexperienced and unfortunate in the schedule as Howard is.
It's been way closer than I think anybody expected it to be, but it looks like UTK is finally putting their game face back on. Only half a minute gone. They're up by 3. It might even be 4 now, and it will be. Now they're going for the highest possible number they can find, and you've got to respect them for it. It's exactly what UTK needs. Like you said, farming points right now is critical, because there is a world where you have a different placement in the top 8, top 10 because of the amount of points scored. Howard scoring those 4 points on you does hurt your deficit at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it helps Howard's for all it's worth. Like, they're not going to make the postseason. We know that. It's unfortunate, but we won't see this new team really enter the fray until next season, I'm sure. Yeah, Tennessee is up there, and they want to fight for the seeding, because these middle-of-the-pack teams that will end up being the bottom seeds when you go into the tournament are not to be trifled. Tennessee has not had it easy this whole season. They've had such a great glow-up over the course of it, though. Entering this split, they looked better than they ever did in the fall split. They have looked so clean, so consistent, just comms on such a good lock, and they cannot let go of that. They need to continue holding that reputation and that level of expertise, because you want to fight for every inch of advantage that you can get given.
Fighting for that advantage is going to be easy. Here is only 1:10 off the clock, and UTK find themselves up by 5-0. This is a very strong performance coming out right now, and Howard, unfortunately, going to be on the wrong side of this massive point game.
Trimmy up against the roof here. It's 33. Attempts to drag it back. Howard being shut out this game again, much like the first. They understand what situation they're in, and they're still really playing their hardest. And again, they look really solid. There's clearly a lot of stuff that they have to work on, obviously. Just, you know, perfecting your positioning, polishing your altitude, as Black Skittle is unfortunately unable to reach that ball enough. Actually, he may have, like, accidentally pogoed under it for a second there. That was a little funny. But there are a lot of kinks to work out for sure for this team that will just take time, and again, time on the pitch for a collegiate setting that Howard is able to get here, as UTK will extend their biggest lead against the series so far from 5 to now 6.
6-0 lead, 2 minutes off the clock, and this is unfortunately one of those games where we just kind of have to ride out the clock. This is going to be University of Tennessee Knoxville dominating in this fashion and really stacking up points. I mean, they hit double digits here, and that is going to be huge for their point differential. Trimmy goes for a wall shot, not able to get the lineup. Secondary attempt comes through, boxed out by both Chemistry and Skittle. Keeps UTK on the ropes for a moment here, but only with half the game left. I'm not sure Howard's going to be able to score 6 in this time.
Yeah, this is a pretty inescapable place. We knew Howard was going to be here from the start. The question was, how much of a fight will they put up? And the answer is, enough of a fight to force UTK to try.
Yeah.
And that, for me, is enough. Absolutely. For a game 2 like that, to make a statement like that nobody can sleep on anybody in this league, especially with these teams going into the postseason, it's a great lesson to learn. And I certainly hope a lot of the other top seed teams are paying attention to Howard right now, because this is not, this is literally the worst of what you're going to face for the rest of the year in this collegiate setting. So prep for it.
Yeah, definitely have that preparation online. You want to make sure you've got the circumstances that you need to be successful. With 2 minutes left, unfortunately, Howard is not going to be able to find much here in this series tonight, but they've got a lot to learn, and they've got a lot of time on the pitch still ahead of them. Like you said, maybe not the best season, but going in, perhaps it's a newer program. I know they're newer here at the EGF. They've got a lot to work with, and next season's a clean slate, so that's definitely what they're looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure. Having that new season, having that new stage to really set yourself up on, and take on this Eastern Division with a new sort of integrity, and hopefully a couple more games outside your Division 2. Because there are a lot of teams that I can see Howard really making a stand against.
Yeah. Undoubtedly, it's just unfortunately, you know, this isn't that team today.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the lineup they're looking for, but UTK just remain very strong, very impressive, and perhaps a little showboaty at the end of it, but 7 points on the board, 80 seconds remain, and Howard, plenty of time to learn.
Yeah. A lot of discipline coming from this team now. Again, it's what we're used to seeing. I don't think I've ever seen Tennessee try to do something like that in game 2.
Yeah,
but
it was weird for sure.
Yeah, it's very unlike them, which is a little unfortunate. But sometimes you feel you have the right to do that kind of thing, and to UTK's credit, they do to an extent. I mean, a 5-0 shutout to start things, and probably double digits shutout to end things. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
They know they're the better team. They know they're the better team by a lot. But to make things look that effortless, I think is a step in the wrong direction. But we see, of course, UTK being the better team. They'll be ahead of Cincinnati in the standings after this week, I believe. And going into the end of things, having that, again, top 5 lock and potentially booting Cincinnati out of that to give them that even worse seeding would be really massive for the crowd that Tennessee is currently really having to face against.
Absolutely. Tennessee getting these additional 9, maybe even 10 points on the board. You got to remember, might subtract 4 from whatever number they pull here because of those 4 points scored by Howard back in game 2 when Tennessee overplays their hand. Gets a little jiggy with it, and it does not work well for them. 45 seconds remain. Double digits could be happening here. It looks like Trimmy goes for the setup. A bit of a follow-through. Going to be whiffed out, and Howard has a chance to get ball control or at least clear it down. And trying to prevent double digits could be kind of a humble win in its own right.
Trying to find this 10th. Trimmy's going to search for it solo, as the cycle's not really there, but at this point, Howard's become so scattershot that UTK can't really cycle themselves as well. So they're just going to try and look for the solo efforts, which they can absolutely do. Mikey's going to try and go for the juggle, and nice tap by Chobro to make it happen. 10-0 for UTK. That may be one of the strongest games we've ever seen from a team here at EGF.
Without a doubt. I think a 10-0 is pretty darn incredible to see coming out from a team here. UTK, they get basically a net 6 here on the board because they do lose those 4 points due to the performance from Howard back in game number 2 where they tied it up 4-4. I guess it kind of cancels out by their own 4, but the point stands that Howard's scoring is still detrimental against UTK. 3 seconds down, double digits on the board, and an 11th for the road. University of Tennessee Knoxville are going to walk away victorious with a 3-0 on their series tonight.
Yeah, I mean, set some records while you're at it to prove your point. That you again, are so good going into the postseason. We will see them try to make it 12th. I know for a fact they're going to go for it off this kickoff. They'll go for pitch. Let's see it. Double commit here for both. And I don't know if Jobo can get to it in time. Nope. Alrighty, an 11-0 victory for UTK to round things out. A sweep we expected. A team we certainly did not. Howard really coming out and putting on a show for us. To prove that, once again, anything can happen here in EGF, and I cannot wait to watch this team more in Season 5.
Yeah, going into Season 5, Howard has a lot to work with, a lot to learn, and a lot of time to practice. Getting back onto the pitch is going to be important, and they cannot let this loss kind of defeat them. We're going to go ahead and throw it to a break, folks. We've got our third and final series, but there's one more after us. Either way, plenty of Rocket League here at EGF in just a bit.
The world needs solutions.
Like now.
We need more voices.
More
voices.
Not less.
We don't build barriers.
We tear them down!
I learn from great books, but I write my own story.
And look to the future.
The world needs me.
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 Hello, everybody, and welcome back to EGFC Rocket League. Just one more series from Tenric and I, but then even one more after that. Just not going to be us on the desk. University of Montana versus University of Idaho. And Tenric, as much as we'd love to create a narrative and tell a little bit of a story, statistics do suggest something else.
Yeah, this is another episode of UTK versus Howard, Idaho. New to the season and a really tough schedule. Let's go over it, shall we? Because I actually don't know what it is going into it. Let's see. We started out against University of Delaware, and then went against Xavier. And then after that, you had Villanova, followed by North Dakota, which they actually took to 5, which is impressive.
Yeah.
And then they got Cincinnati, and then they got Montana State. So now they're facing the other side of that coin in another pretty top-tier team in University of Montana, a team that seemingly looks better every single week. What a brandable team as well. All three of these names, so memorable, such memorable players, such memorable plays. And that one may not stick around in my memory for very long, as High Crew will score the first, but it's mainly because I believe that they have so many more memories to make this series.
Absolutely. This series is going to be one full of memories for the University of Montana. This team has really been coming through, trying to make a name for themselves in the EGFC and continue to really kind of open that door. I feel like each time I see them, like you said, just better than the last. And as Montana finds themselves up 1-0 early in Game 1, can they take that further into a lead, or can Idaho answer back? Maybe we get lucky and we get another Game 5 scenario on our hands.
I'd love to see Idaho take a victory here. They just, they've had it rough so far this season. They've been around a little bit. I believe that's because they're not necessarily placed in a division, which is unlike Howard. If they are, it's Big Sky, which I know kind of is a bit of a player in the schedules. They tend to get a lot of teams outside of their division because they tend to dip into the West a lot more.
Yeah.
But Idaho, instead, this time facing their neighbors again. For the second time consecutively facing a Montana team, this time University of Montana, who will score their first goal, and for that matter, High Crew's second of the game.
Now, High Crew's second of the game. University of Montana up 2-0 now. 20% of the game off the clock. And with 3:53 remaining, the University of Idaho comes in with a dominant performance here. Or getting dominant performance against them, rather. El Blasito is going to be demoed here in the center field. And A's into Oki Finn finds the third goal for University of Montana. They are starting strong here, large and in charge. This dominance is exactly what we expected.
Yeah, this is just about par for the course once again. Question is, how far can University of Montana take it? They're currently sitting around the middle of the division. I believe they have clinched a playoff berth by this stage with that positive record. They are 2 ahead of, I think, too many teams at this point. With their closest competitors, obviously the other teams that have their identical records, and then teams like USC, Southern Utah, William & Mary. But I believe they are a little too far gone for Montana's sake.
Yeah.
But tacking on a couple more rounds there, tacking on some more goals on top of a differential that's already pretty good for their rank, about what it is for everybody else. To kind of rocket up that a little bit more would be really great for them in the tail end of this season. I'm looking for who they're facing in that next week. Okay, they're actually gonna go against Montana State next week. That'll be a banger game.
Yeah. That'll be a fun one for sure. Montana versus Montana is going to be a very fascinating scenario to be in. But University of Montana, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do much more than they currently are. 4-0 on the clock is just that dominance that we know and love. This is exactly what we're expecting to see. And unlike our previous series, I think Montana has the prior information to understand that they can't really allow a game to slip away from them, because every single point can be unbelievably critical in those placements later down the line.
See more space taken here by Montana, as Idaho has had some solid resounding rebounds, but not a long-lasting possession really make the cows come home. And there are so many cows in Montana and Idaho, I presume. I've never been.
I was just in Idaho like 2 weeks ago. Didn't see any cows, but I saw some pretty cool mountains.
Okay,
so.
well,
Partial credit.
I guess there aren't many cows to come home then. So, well, that's
till the mountains come home. Does that work?
Till the
Does that make
mountains
sense?
come home. Yeah, sure. Yeah, again, this team is also a team that I'm really paying attention to. Boofless, Blastido are two players that I've had my eye on for a little bit. They look really solid, mech-wise.
Yeah.
I think this is just like a slightly newer team. Could take a little more communication. And again, a team that I'd love to see take on next season as a full-fledged roster. Because there are a lot of gaps to make up in the standings, and there are a lot of heroes that could come in secret. I mean, we've seen that this season in the likes of teams like Villanova, who has done so much rising up the ranks this season as opposed to the previous one. They look absolutely incredible. Same with UConn. They have really leveled up this season too.
Leveling up is the name of the game here, and like you said, we are definitely looking at these teams to find a little bit more. 1:20, 80 seconds here on the clock, and it's going to be Montana just leading the charge, tried and true. Finding first 4 goals, I think the first minute and a half, and then falling a little bit silent for the rest of the series, but a 4-0 win is certainly still something to be very proud of and to be very comfortable with.
One minute to go, as High Crew will try and line up another to find the hat trick, and will be handed it after Blastido finds an unfortunate touchback. Montana will be up 5-0 to start out game number 1.
Game number 1, 5-0 on the board with only a minute left. Can they answer back just a little faster? Can they put a little bit more on the board here and give themselves as many points as possible? 7-0 and 8-0 maybe in the final minute, but even without that happening, I'm not sure Idaho would be able to answer back. Jack O'Brien goes for an early goal. Heckeru is going to be able to block it out of the way, and it's not the lineup Idaho wanted, but at least it's only game 1. You can call it a GG, go next. You can try to take some stuff you learned here and implement it in your upcoming game, but that is, of course, going to be easier said than done against a program like Montana.
O'Keefe in another one. That's going to be a hat trick for them as well. As AZ, the setup artist, as always, able to continue getting it going in Idaho. These touches just have not had enough of a punch behind them, really. But it's not like they've really had the time or space to generate the resources needed to kick it up a notch, as Montana has just been so able to completely muffle this game out to the point where it's now 6 goals strong. Another shutout on the horizon for this team, as Idaho has unfortunately faced nothing but shutouts, save for that one match that they were able to take to 5. Still, unfortunately, lost it in the end, but a lot left in the tank going forward for Season 5, I'm sure. Here, at least, it will be a Game 1 for University of Montana. A likely shutout as long as they keep it stable, which it looks like they will. Idaho will take a little more space here, and Jake O'Brien will have a chance at it, but not enough of one, really, as there's too many defenders online. Montana will be able to kill this ball, but I doubt that they will do that. I think that they will go for a Rule 1, and they might as well be handed it themselves, after an unfortunate bounce off a demo from University of Idaho leads to an assist from the boys in yellow.
The boys in yellow not able to get that goal on line, with 7 points for the University of Montana. About 7 minutes passed in game as well, and now they're already up 1-0 on the series. 2 games left to try and make this one work. It's going to be a tough one to work with for Idaho, but Montana, they are looking for that 3-0 victory, because by golly, would that look good on their report card this season so far?
Montana is a team that is certainly not to be trifled with. We know that much so far. They will, again, be going against Montana State next week. Idaho will be facing off against Northern Arizona University. God, the bottom seeds have it so rough.
No comment, Your Honor.
Oh my God.
That's hard. That's just hard. There's literally so little to say. Northern Arizona came in this year and just beat the snot out of everybody. You're probably going to get 3-0 this week, you get 3-0 next week. The schedule not friendly to you at all. That is really difficult.
It's rough out here for Howard and Idaho, I'll tell you what, man. Hopefully they have it a little bit better going into the remainder of the season. But yeah, Northern Arizona being their next opponents, that is a team that is still undefeated so far this season. They have literally not lost, I think. Yeah, no, they haven't lost. And Idaho has to face them for their maybe last game of the season. Maybe second to last. We'll see.
That is never how you want a season to end. Going up against the undefeated is such a difficult spot to be in, but maybe Idaho is going to be able to get a couple of glory goals here, looking for some opportunities to strike. It's going to be a clean roll from A's, but they're going to run out of boost, fall just a bit short, and now Blastito does have the defensive play. Past one defender into a second, and Boofless finds a block of their own. Idaho starting strong, 3 successful blocks in a row against Montana.
Montana up on the doorstep here. They, again, want to try and punch in as many goals as they can to pad these statistics and make sure that they can get ahead of what competition they can still clear away. Granted, the gap between the pack that Montana is in and the rest of the league is a little tough.
Yeah.
As, you know, Tennessee and up is pretty much in there. They pretty much have that, that top 6 figured out. Montana is attempting to break through in the like 3 or 4 teams below that, which is still all going to go to the playoffs. We know that much, but the seeding is what really matters here. And Montana being on the lower end of that will be a little bit disadvantageous.
A little bit disadvantageous indeed. It is not the scenario you want to be in if you are Idaho, but Montana, they are definitely looking to get as many points as they can to feel just a little bit better about their odds going into the rest of the season. Because like you said, Tenric, while some of it is solved, some of it is settled, there absolutely are going to be a couple of teams where their placement is decided by those X amount of goals there at the end.
High crew up from the ceiling. Oki Finn, long shot. Gonna get it done. Another well-timed goal from Montana. Ain't nothing new, though. As Idaho is really just a team I'm trying to see what how they can react, because they're not going to be allowed to make any decisions as long as Montana's out here, and as long as they're playing through this match right now. They will not be allowed to do anything. Even with Weedles now on the floor, another player that I just love watching. So fun, so clearly willing to learn, and so excited to just be here in the collegiate scene, which is really awesome to see. And
that's the hard thing, right? Some players like have to learn. It's like a lot of people come in and they just have a natural understanding of, okay, yes, I know what I'm doing. I've always been great at this game. Collegiate's no different than a tournament. But for a lot of collegiate players, something we haven't talked about enough today, this is a first-time experience for a lot of players in the collegiate scene, in the competitive scene. And sometimes your rude awakening is Montana dropping a 3-0 on you, right? The anvil comes down, but you have to look at it as a positive learning experience. As a, okay, not our series, but now we have to figure out what they did that made us so beatable. And I think Idaho, like you said, has the proper mindset to make that happen.
Yeah, Idaho definitely has that recovery mindset. I think the Rocket League community in general, I think, is able to take losing a lot better than a lot of other esports communities. I gotta say, just how improvement oriented all the players that I see are. Just everyone striving to get better, understanding that like they lost because they were worse in the game that they played. Just shows to me just how amazing this community is, and also how great of a game this is. To make it so explicit that like you will lose if you were the worst player. It's very great to see, and Idaho taking that in stride and really gonna improve, I think, in the off season going into things. Same to Montana though. This is a team that I can see having some great exponential growth and perhaps reaching that true upper echelon during regulation season next time.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it's going to be a lot of, like you said, the growth mindset, the improvement of the ability to win the game. I think, I agree with you that this game, compared to a lot of other esports, is one of the most kind of goal-oriented games, no pun intended, where the players do come in and they do say, okay, listen, we lost. Here's exactly why. It's not, we lost, I hate you, you're a terrible teammate. It's immediately kind of that build of what we can do better. I think the only other esport we can really compare that to is Smash Ultimate. That's another one where even during, in the middle of a set, we will sometimes see somebody ask their opponent, how did I just lose that? And often they will give you advice. They will give you, like, okay, you need to stop shielding, you need to stop rolling up from ledge. And those are the two games in the world of esports where people are really interested in helping their opponents, because without an opponent, you can't play this game competitively. And I think these two games understand that really well.
That's the thing about something like the grassroots scenes. We've seen games like Smash and Rocket League have to take. Just because Rocket League is still not considered an A-tier esport. It still has not gotten that admiration that it really deserves. But I'm glad that so many players, again, like you said, just really oriented towards just learning and improving and teaching each other stuff. Like you're always seeing the skill ceiling improve every single day, especially nowadays with like with even like the slightest of players or opportunities see Zen for the past like 2 months.
Absolutely. It's about growth, it's about improvement, and it's about change. And unfortunately, I don't think Idaho is going to be able to adapt fast enough against a power playing team like Montana. But they came out, they played, and we've got to respect them for that, because there's a lot of teams that see their opponents a top dog and just forfeit. So you came out, you proved your worth. You said, hey, we're going to try, we're going to learn, we're going to improve, we're going to do with it what we can. And unfortunately, it might not be much here on the screen, but they get the VOD. They get to go and watch back. They get to go find out, how did Montana beat us the way they did, and what can we be doing differently to make sure that never happens to us again.
Yeah, they'll be able to take that to their game against the undefeated Northern Arizona University, baby.
And maybe after that game, maybe we skip that one.
Yeah, let's do some VOD reviews when the season's over, maybe. That might be the right idea. Again, yeah, Idaho just has it rough this season, but that's by design. That's being a new team. Sometimes you're just gonna have to be some filler. Sometimes you're gonna have to be that jobber for other teams that may drop games or drop out of the season, like we've seen some teams do before. You got to play for that low seed. You got to play that really upper echelon. But by extension, you get some opportunities that a lot of teams in EGF don't. You get a lot of practice against the absolute best of the best. And, you know, having one of those hardest records means that I think you have that potential to bounce back so much more next season.
What is it they always say? Iron sharpens iron? Is that the steel sharpens steel? Kind of that mindset of like, yes, you're going to be losing. Yes, you're going to get 3-0'd, but you're not going to be able to 3-0 unless you get 3-0'd. You've got to learn. You've got to improve. And what better way to improve than, like you said, playing against the best of the best? Now, Montana, they're going to win game number 2 in a 7-0 fashion. And those sitting at home wondering, like, wow, they haven't talked about the game in a while, because I don't think we're going to see much else, folks. I keep it real with you. That's a promise. This is going to be today's game. This is our last set. Weedles puts down some expectations. Final second. A little bit of morale. You scored on Montana. You got the lion's share going into game 3. But Montana, they're really just giving us a master class of how to win an expected matchup right now. So it's hard for Idaho.
Yeah, that was an awesome breakaway from Weedles, though, after finding that shot off. I think he kind of forgot, like, he realized that he got it, and he stopped for a second, like, oh my god, I just got it. And then he was like, oh my god, I have to go score. But yeah, like you said, this is what we're going to see for game 3, too, I think. Like, we know what's going to happen. We knew what was going to happen going into this. Montana was going to rock this. Yeah. And they have continued to. They look amazing as always. These 3 players, High Crew, Oki, Finn, AZ, they look amazing as always. I really love this team, Septulins. I can't wait to watch them in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Montana, they've got a lot to prove in the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be their first EGFC playoff. They're going up against powerhouse teams like UTK, who we saw earlier, like, oh my goodness, I'm blanking. NAU, currently undefeated, came in this year just dominating. So there's going to be easy games in the season like this, in a series like this, but you're just getting through this one to get to that top dog slot, to go punch for punch, blow for blow with those teams that are 3-0ing the same way Montana is right now.
Yeah, you really are just getting started. I want to look back at Montana's previous games, actually, just to see how they did. Oh, wait. Oh, my God. Montana beat Northern Arizona last week.
Is Montana undefeated, though?
No.
So neither team is undefeated.
So neither team's undefeated. Okay, so Northern Arizona is not undefeated. They lost to Montana. Huh. I did not see that.
Well, there's another compliment to the power of Montana.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, Northern Arizona losing for the first time, and against the team we're seeing absolutely dominate the field right now. A bit of a slower build in this game, though. Already a minute off the clock, no points on the board.
Yeah, Idaho's holding it down again on the defense. You start seeing those the stats padded. Man, Idaho made so many saves. It's because they can't really make any shots, unfortunately.
Yeah, stuck on a defense.
It's that war of attrition that Montana is going to continue playing that will hopefully get them out of here in 3. But you're right, they are struggling a little bit here. Idaho is doing a great job of stopping them, but now they have to punch back. Now they have to turn things around, and this cycle is still too congested to do that just yet.
Yeah, and this doesn't feel kind of similar to our second series here today, where it was kind of the upper echelon team getting cocky, getting overconfident, and then starting to slip a little bit. This feels like Idaho really is starting to find that punch up, that leg up against Montana. Makes it a little harder for them to score. This is definitely not going to be a 7-0 plus game. I think Idaho's defense is becoming a little bit stronger, and maybe there's something to do with the fact they've been stuck on defense for 10 minutes. They're really starting to kind of come into their own, but it's an improvement regardless, and I do want to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that Idaho at this point is kind of trying to treat this like a scrim as well. Is practice those mechanics, see how long you can last, and play for that endurance. You know, play every game the same way you would, like it's game 5 in Worlds. You know, just try and break through as much as he can, get as much done as he can, and Idaho doing that until their last breath, which is still not yet, as Jake O'Brien will get another great save against Okifin's off-record pass. But Montana continuing to have possession here as we enter halfway point here in Game 3.
The halfway point in Game 3 is going to be working for just about nobody. Idaho keeping it close. Boofless finding a great demolition in Montana. Maybe starting to sweat like just a little bit, but definitely a bit nervous here as Idaho continues to lead a very strong defense. They're really starting to find their stride against Montana. And like you said, a little bit of that might be, they're just playing it like a scrim right now. They're just saying, hey, let's try things, see if they work. And clearly a lot of what they're doing is working. Another great block from El Blasido comes out. And Idaho really defying a lot of expectations here.
We got to see him score here in regulation. Otherwise, this game gets really interesting. The series gets really interesting. Not that it isn't interesting now.
Sure.
But Idaho having a way out as Blastido makes their way up. Big commitment, though, as Boofless also follows. So it's down to the back line to play catch-up. And Jake O'Brien, all they can really do is get a bump. But that will lead to Idaho getting some space again, and Montana can't put their finger on it. Idaho's got the goal.
Wow, Idaho with the goal, 103 seconds left. There's a very real chance they can take a game off Montana. They just need to make sure they play their cards right and they do not overextend. You've got the 1-point lead. 1 point is all you need to find success and put yourself in a winner's seat against a team that took down NAU. If you put it kind of the transitive property, you beat the team that beat NAU. That's pretty darn cool. 100 seconds left. Can Montana answer early? Wow, Idaho almost finds another one. Jake O'Brien is just a little bit off to the side. Unfortunately, can't get the lineup, and instead it's 90 seconds here. Idaho, there's a very real chance they can take a game 4.
They have the potential to.
Or make a game.
For sure. Yeah, take it out of a sweep here, as Montana is struggling a little bit. Idaho putting up such a great fight this game.
Idaho really coming to life here in game number 3,
Oh,
and I think
boom.
a lot of that might have to do with the fact it's just kind of that mental of, hey, we've lost, let's just give it our best, and their best turns out to be pretty darn freaking good here. A barely blocked out shot for Montana does keep them at that 0, and as we hit double digits now, less than a minute on the clock, Montana needs something. Is that it? There's the setup. No double tap, and Boofless blocks it out again. Idaho really starting to play strong against Montana.
Oh, I love these last-ditch efforts that have had to put in from Idaho. They don't even bother worrying about the first setup to goal because they just worry about the second one, which is actually what they're going to go for. But eventually, the dam will break, and AZ, we can tie things up here for University of Montana. 42 seconds to go. Can Idaho do it again? Can we see an interruption in this sweep?
An interruption in the sweep would be pretty darn amazing. Idaho's got 42 seconds. They've scored once. Are they going to be able to break that curse and score just one more time to take Montana down a peg and, hey, make things just a little bit more interesting for us here on the desk, and, of course, all you viewers at home. 1-3-0 is all right. We don't want to see another, and Idaho fighting real hard to make sure it doesn't happen, but A's drops a secondary, and that's possibly the nail in the coffin with only 30 seconds left.
We'll see how far Idaho can continue to take it, but yeah, that might just do it. We'll see if
how far can Idaho go? I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a close one. The opportunities to strike, 30 seconds left. They have an early lead here, and Montana steals ball control right back.
How long were you holding that one in, buddy?
Just thought of all of it when you were talking. That's why I cut you off. I was so excited to say it.
No,
yeah.
I understand why. That was a banger. Oh my god.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
amazing.
You. Thank you. Arguably my highlight of the day.
All right, 10 to go. High crew keeping it up. Might try and just rule one it here, honestly, or instead we'll go for a beautiful flip to take it to a nigh impenetrable lead.
Yeah, really clean over there from High Crew. This is going to be a really close
That's a great
game
reset.
for
My
Montana.
God.
The reset off of it into the top left corner, past the sole defender, and like you said, that's got to be the final goal here. 8 seconds left, or sorry, the winning goal, maybe not the final goal. 8 seconds left. Idaho not able to score twice. Once per 4 is what they need, and we're not going to be seeing that. So Montana, a 3-0 victory. But hey, Idaho, I mean, a lot of improvement there. We spent game 2 talking about what we wanted to see different, about how this team does have fundamentals. And in game 3, they show that off quite a bit. I mean, I'm really proud of the growth this team made in this series, and I can't wait to see what that looks like down the line. Jake O'Brien just misses out that second one, but hey, you went blow for blow with Montana in a 5-minute game. That's insanely impressive.
Yeah, and that was a game in which Montana was absolutely still trying their best too.
Yeah, seriously.
That
yes.
was a game where like Montana wasn't trying to BM or anything. They weren't trying to like play with their fruit or anything. Like they were legitimately just trying to attack again and again. And Idaho just did a great job of not only defending but punching back. They got back up and they were able to get these breakaways, these moments where they had some real opportunities. They found, I think, 2 or 3 by the end there where they had some great airtime and were able to find the angles, but just barely missed out, including on that final opportunity to turn it into just a 1-goal game. Regardless, real big props to Idaho. As always, a congratulations to Montana for taking that victory, continuously looking better and better, and we will get to interview them in just a moment after this short break.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to EGFC Rocket League. One more time from Tenrick and myself. We are going to be joined by AZ, not A's, as I just learned, from the University of Montana. Another phenomenal 3-0 victory. So, AZ, I do want to ask, going into Game 3 there, y'all were silent for a little while. You know, games 1 and 2 are very dominant, they're very strong, and then all of a sudden, Idaho's defense really does wake up a little bit. They scored in that moment. Did you guys, I know you didn't get nervous, perhaps, but were you kind of, eager to see all of a sudden that competition be put down on the table? It wasn't just a 7-0 game. You really did get a lot of pushback from Idaho there in that third game.
Yeah, no, I mean, really at the last game there, they really brought it out. It kind of surprised us. And, you know, I think we might have been messing around a little bit too much near the end there. And really, we started to have to focus up. We were like, oh, crap. Okay. You know, we need to be a little bit more serious here if we want to put this in the bag. So got a little bit more focused up, and thankfully that was enough. But no, they definitely started playing really well that third game. It definitely put us on our toes.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, you know, teams learning bit by bit that that really anybody stands a chance in EGF, even from the bottom of those standings, especially considering it seems like Idaho have had such a tough go at it this season so far to be so winless, unfortunately. And I think that's par for the course in the upper echelon as well. As we found out, the Grizzlies were able to give NAU their first loss last week. And so talking about, you know, the climate going into the postseason of how really at this point anybody can beat anybody, and you guys are patient zero for that, losing to UConn right before besting the arguably best team in the league. How do you feel about that, you know, that environment going into the postseason bracket?
Oh, it just feels amazing. I mean, when we knew that we were playing NAU, we knew it would be a tough match, and we scrim them all the time. We're pretty good friends with them, so that's kind of why we were doing like the name thing and everything. But we just knew that we'd have to bring everything we had to be able to get the win over them. And you know, I think the technical difficulties that they had really put them off their game, and we were able to just capitalize on that, and we just drove it home. There was nothing they could do, thankfully. So I feel really good about it. It's a lot of good momentum going into the end of the season. And I'm super excited to see what we do from here.
Great to see, man.
Yeah, great to see indeed. Y'all are definitely up and coming here in the EGFC, and you're very close to playoffs, and we're excited to see what you do there. But before we let you hit the road, AZ, is there anybody you'd like to give a thank you or a shout out to just while you're here with us?
Yeah, shout out to the casters for doing awesome casting.
Oh, stop it.
Come on, man.
Shout out to everybody
Checks
in
in the
chat
mail.
as well. Thanks for watching. We're glad that you guys are here and take time out of your day to watch the stream. So.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect. Lazy, thank you so much for joining us. Huge congrats on this win and a double congrats on the NAU win. I can't believe we had not seen that, but y'all are clearly a force to be reckoned with, and we are stoked to watch y'all going down the line.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, folks, Tenric and I are going to go ahead and call it a night here, but you are going to be joined by 2 more casters for 1 more series here at EGFC. AZ kind of stole my closer a bit, Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for joining us. We love all of you so much. A big shout out to Aeon, producer and observer as always. Check posture, drink water, love each other, and we'll see you next week.